Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here, and today's video is part of the, it's going to be an HPS watch list video, but I'm going to switch it up a little. We're going to discuss my current speculative drug stocks that I'm holding right now as of today, going into the Christmas week. It's going to be December 20th. And I've been getting some of these smaller, again, we call them spec stocks here, speculative in nature, where they don't have a real good fundamental base on them, but they have potential, huge potential sometimes, by having upcoming news or a catalyst that's going to cause the stock to really move. Now, we've been in a few of these, and I'm in all of these, but we've been in a few of these for a long time. The AUPH, the VERU, the LIXD, and a lot of them are giving us tremendous gains: 400, 200%, 300%, 400%, 500% gains. Even LIXD, which I got in at 18 cents, trading at 70 cents, is a nice return. It was already up. It was actually up to $1.20 and stuff. So I want to break down each one of these stocks for you, kind of give you an outline of what they are, my price, how many shares I'm holding, and what I'm expecting, and maybe a timeline, a little description of it. So just get us on board, and so everyone's up to date on that. I think it'll be a good topic. These things have been hot. We're coming into the new year. I don't know if that's going to be very positive for FDA news and stuff, or we're going to just continue as we've been seeing. But these stocks have been very hot and very interesting to get into, so I want to cover those. So we'll start off here. I'll just go in no particular order. At the end of this, I will rank these stocks from the best to the, my number one picks, number two, number three, maybe the number five. 1 through 5 I'll pick, and we'll talk about that too. All right. Vera Pharmaceuticals, AUPH. This is a good one. This was one that recently gave us a nice return. We got in this around $5 to $6, chopped around, went up to 8, came back. Then it came out with their trial results for their lupus nephritis drug, and it was successful, and it popped up to about $25 after market, and settled back down to 18. Now it's back at $19. Now this was big. This was the lupus nephritis trial here. You can see it just completed its phase 3. Good trial. They're going to bring that with a new drug application early 2020. But we have two other drugs two other conditions or indications in the pipeline for the use of this drug. And one of the big ones I'm looking at is this dry eye syndrome. Dry eye syndrome is a much bigger, I believe, population of people with dry eye syndrome than lupus nephritis, and hence will probably be a much bigger market. Right now, the current treatment is Restasis. That's the lead treatment in this condition here for dry eye syndrome. And in the trials here, they're going up against they're going up and comparing it against the Restasis, and it's beating it hands down. So this looks out to be really working out good. And again, this could be the next big catalyst here. So when we get to a point like this, I'm just going to walk you through some of my research that I do. Just knowing right now, again, the current price right around $19.70. My target price will be at $35, and that's based off of basically this company being taken over by another company that's going to see the value of the drugs that they have, and they're going to scoop them up. Be it someone who does the dry eye or something, I'm not going to get into it, but we've seen it happen so many times. The big pharma comes in and gobbles up these companies when they have a profitable drug or a major drug. So this is on the cusp of having something to trial here. What I usually do is just grab the name of this, and I'll put it in my clinical trial right here. Let me show you where I go with this. I discussed the process of how to kind of track these things and when they're going to come out with news. One of the easiest ways to do it is go to this clinicaltrials.gov website, put in the drug that you're following, and I put it right in here, voclosporin, and then hit the search, and it'll come up with any trials. There's 17 trials and studies found on this drug, and This some of them are recruiting, some of them are completed. The lupus one was just completed. I'm going down to the one with the dry eye syndrome. And again, this is also good, a nice to see all these studies going on. And this is another company that has the additional clues out there that they're hiring a lot of people, especially in the United States. They're a Canadian company, but they're going to be marketing these drugs worldwide. So they're actually within the last month they had a job applications on LinkedIn for about nine new positions, and this is after another 5 vice presidents they hired before the drug got approved for lupus. So we knew that something was coming. This was one of the easier ones to hold on to it. And even though it's $19, expecting that to continue to move higher, this is probably number 1 on the list. I'll tell you right now, just giving you so here we have dry eye syndrome dose ranging study. This is a big one that's being going right now. So you would click on it. All right, we'll click on it. I think I spelled Arrhenia Investigation Center. I think I spelled that wrong. Anyway, I'll fix that over there. So it goes into the detailed description of what trial it is, what phase, the 2-3 multi-center round. Just go through it. It's easy enough to read. I'm not going to waste everyone's time on this, but what I want to get down to the point here is the estimated primary completion date is May 30th, 2020. So it's going to be in the spring. Now it's still a ways off, but because of we might get some updates on this. There might be some other things. This is something that's not that far out, a few months away. And, this one, let's take a look at the chart now. We're actually going to take a look at the chart here on this one. And let me fix the, I apologize. I think I spelled this wrong. I just put it in there. I think it's Arrhenia with an I. Hopefully that's right. So let's take a look at the chart. And let me fix the chart here. It's a little off-centered. Now this ended up closing pretty good today. So you can see we were in this down here. It popped. I sold some shares. I sold half of my shares up around $20. And now it did say, well, it's not at $20, but the day it opened up after market, it went up to $25. I was able to get out between 19 and 20 and change. We're right back at the 19. I've been adding to it. So I've got my position back. I said, you know what? I don't want to be out of this. I do believe it's going higher. So I think we're going to actually pop out of this, get above $22 at a short-term target. At that point, we might just want to lock in some profits or approach it a different way or protect the profits in some way. But right now, I think this is definitely a buy. And again, let me see. I don't have I was going to give you updates on the positions too, and I don't think I have that. Hold on, let me open up everything again. All right, so I'm going to add that to you. So we're going to have a section here for the position. We have the name, the current price, the target price. My position right now, 700 shares at 60. Has cost average of 16.6. So remember, I had shares that I sold on the news, and then I bought some on the pullback, and then I have these calls here going out January, April, and July as they go up and go up out there. The January ones are the ones I was holding for a while. I might have to decide if we're going to just let those convert over to shares or sell them and just kind of roll them out. I think we'll see what we're going to do with that next week. But that still has some time on that. But I want to, probably take advantage of something on that. All right, so that's our first one. And again, looking at this is going to be a big success, this dry eye solution. So at one point, this is going to be a good trade. We should get up above 25. Definitely, I think 35 will be 35 or above on the buyout. Probably number 1 on the list there. Let's go to the next one. And I spell checked it here, so Pharmaceuticals is spelled right now. I apologize. Again, I'm getting this out later in the evening here. I want to get this out by Saturday at least, or probably Sunday morning. But apologize if I rush through this and I leave some spelling errors. I'll go back and correct them. All right, we're going to jump into VERU next. VERU is the another long-term drug company that I'm very familiar with, currently holding. I did take some shares off recently, though. We did have some news on the VERU. It popped up. I was able to get out of some shares, and then it actually right back up to those levels. It's, if anybody wanted to get out around $3, we're trading right at $2.94. This is an amazing run that VERU's been on. I'm going to show you the chart in a second, but this still actually looks pretty good considering all of a sudden it has come alive. It has come alive. And when we say coming alive, you could be a stock that's kind of dormant for such a long time and then start to get volume. And that volume helps out a lot. So I'd like to see this pop a little bit further. You could see the history of the stock back here. Nice, they had a couple pops and stuff, but they've went through a transformation from a kind of a female health company to an oncology company. So their products they have out here now are all about cancer and prostate cancer and stuff. So there's another reason why this all of a sudden takes on a different twist altogether. This is the old company. This is the newer company. This looks so good. I mean, this is our wealth. We've been in this a long time. I've been in a long time. My cost right now, my cost average is 99,000 shares at 167, and it's trading at 294. I also have 5 calls left of my 250 calls. They were trading at 20 cents. I think they closed at 40 cents, so they doubled. Target price $4 to $6. And like I said, I'm not, this was from original entry. My first entry on this stock was $1.18. I've added to it since then, so my cost average is 167. But $6 would be great on this. It could be worth a lot more. I gotta, these are the this is the pipeline right now, and this is the prostate cancer. 3 drugs in the pipeline, and this is what's causing this price to kind of get back up into this level. The potential. They just finished this one, and we're waiting for some news to come out on phase 2 for the hot flashes in men with prostate or castration-resistant prostate cancer. I'm not a doctor on this stuff, but I've done a lot of research knowing that they have about 3 drugs now in the pipeline. One of them is due early January, the phase 2 on the hot flashes, and I don't know how big of a catalyst that's going to be. But there's bigger. I think as we call the sexy drug. Is going to be out there a little bit further. So let me see. Let me go back here. I think what just popped up on here. So it says right here, phase 2, January 2020. Phase 2 data due January 2020. That's right around the corner. And I remember listening to the conference call on this, and he would mention it was supposed to be done in December, but they said it should be released in a couple weeks. But the big ones are going to be later on down the road. And kind of just to review how we find those, we find the drugs that we're interested. Vera 111 is the big drug we're paying attention to. So you're going to place that name of that drug in the clinical trials database, and it's going to give you the readout on it. So the stock we're looking at is the drug we're looking at is Vera 111. We'll go down to the drug item right in here. Put in your drug, VERU. I'll put a -111. And then we'll be able to see there's 13 studies, actually, 1 study being found, actually recruiting for it. And we just want to click on that. And that'll give us a time frame of what we expect some news on that. We just scroll down here. And you can see August 22nd, actual study started January 2019. So in summer, estimated primary completion date in the summer. That's and I believe there is another one going on. The Vera 100. Cash resistant, all right. Oral, targeted, tubular, all right. I put in the term VERU, so I have all 3 now here. So this one is the next one up in January. This one's due. It's active, not recruiting. That's the hot Vera 944, and then the Vera 111. And then I have something down here. Oh, that doesn't look like anything that has to do with Vera. So we have 2 active. One that's going to come in with results. This one is going to be in the summer. So again, One last thing we'll show you on this. We just had some recent insiders on this. We could always add that to the formula. Jesus has bought more shares off the open market, paying a good price for them, almost 280. So I picked up 5,000 shares. And, you know, it's always good to see insiders buying at the top of a range or top of a chart. So very nice there. And one last look at it. You know, again, would I take, you know, it's so hard to take this off. But on the next pop here at $4, absolutely, I would definitely be scaling out on the way up. So a really good one. Let's go to the next stock. I have a feeling this video is going to get pretty long, but I think it's going to have a lot of great information on it. It's actually going to show you some good research techniques also. Because right now I'm filling out the form for, I don't have 9,000 shares in this. I'm just making a new slide, and I'm looking at the time frame. I'm going to get rid of this. Just don't pay attention. Actually, pay attention to this, because in my research, I'm going to their site. I'm reading their presentations. I'm listening to their presentation. I'm doing a lot of the legwork here that I think everyone should do. To get familiar with the drugs. You know, being in a couple stocks, again, I give a lot of credit to one of our members, Steve, who is I thought was an excellent researcher, and he kept on pushing the stock in front of me until I was forced to look at it, and then I started realizing, wow, he's, you know, I want to learn some of the techniques he does in researching these stocks. So I said, oh, you know, that inspired me. So I'm really digging deep in some of these companies, because the more confidence you have in the company, the better chance you're going to hold on to it. And you know, stocks get manipulated. We had AUPH manipulated from, like, I mean, it came down to like $5. It was sold off with a bear raid, but I was able to identify a bear raid by seeing it and seeing how it's set up. I wasn't too concerned about that, but there was a lot of people that got hurt on a pullback in a stock like that. And that's not even about this, but the important part is just there's a lot of work to be put into these stocks, and I apologize that this video might get a little long. I'm just researching the EXEL, but Exelixis Incorporation, traded at 1850. And I was just in the middle of this, and I said, well, you go to those websites, you get their latest presentations, you have to do a lot of things to see what, you know, and that's probably the best things, the best way of actually getting a good understanding of a company getting into is watch their latest presentation that they do. And if they really have a good drug and there's something for them to promote, they would promote it. They're going to go out and really promote the crap out of it, because they're going to get coverage, they're going to get, you know, they're going to get partners and stuff. This all adds up to making money on the bottom line, and that's what the bottom line is funding and getting funded for their trials and stuff. So I'm actually in the middle of here, and I figured I'd let you listen to a little of it too, if you can. This is an introduction. This is introducing Alexis how to
heads up their BD function. We're just going to go right into a fireside chat. This is designed to be interactive, so if anyone has a question, feel free to acknowledge yourself, and hopefully we'll get it asked. Mike, not sure if you want to make any kind of introductory comments with respect to kind of where you are, maybe what you do, and then we'll go.
Everybody, before I begin, I'll just start by saying that I'll be making forward-looking statements. So please see our SEC filings for a description of the risks that we face in our business.
You know, it's always better when a company comes out and has a conference. It's more like if you're not presenting and you're not showing your data, and then that's kind of got to be a red flag. If you're showing your data, you're pushing yourselves out. Was another thing that AUPH. That's another thing, like some of these recent big ones, ARRY. I'm not familiar. We were in that one. I'm not sure about the history of the presentation, so I got into that one a little late, but I got in right at the right time. But I've been into ones like Kite Pharmaceuticals, which presented the ASCO conference, and the ASCO conference is coming up, and that should be the next video I want to focus on, is the important stocks, the important drug stocks to focus on during the ASCO conference. Anyway, let's get back to this for a second. I hope you don't mind. This is going to be kind of extended. I want to try to jump through some of the crap, but I'm curious myself because I'm in this stock. I can tell you right now what I have on EXEL just to make it easier, and I'll write it on this. But let's see, what do I have? I know I have a lot of options on this, and they start in January 17, 20 options. I have, let's see what I have. I have 7 20 calls, which I bought at 138 to trade in that. Let's see where I'm at on this. I don't even know if I'm up on the money on this. 45 cents. It closed at 45 cents. I bought them at, wait, that can't be right. Yeah, it is. It's right. I mean, probably because a lot of the news is not due until after January. But when I got into this, I got really excited. I got into this one right after I got into the AUPH, and seeing how the AUPH worked out, I jumped right. I just got excited. So I probably got some options a little early. That were my first options I got on this one. So I have EXEL. I have 7 out of $1.38. And they are the January 17, 20 calls. All right. And then I went out and I started picking up some more. The more as I read into this, I went out a little deeper and stuff. And then I started picking up the February 21, 18 calls, and then 19 calls, and then the 20 calls. So I have 18, 19, and 20s, 2, 3, and 1. So another 6 calls there. And then I went out. I think I went out further. Maybe not. I don't see anything out here deeper. But then I started picking up the stock. And I have 300 shares of the EXEL. So, between that, it's not a huge position. But I don't think it's going to run away from us. But there is some interesting drugs in this company. They deal with cancer tumors and stuff like that. And they've been getting good results. So I think over time this will play out, just depending on how fast it's going to go. I want to take a look at the chart next with you. But let's listen a little bit more on this. Just a touch more on what they have to say or begin. I'm curious. This is my first time listening to with you. All right.
Development efforts, most notably is Carbomedics, now a billion-dollar global brand, mainly focused in RCC and HCC with a little bit of rare thyroid tumors with Cometric, the capsule formulation. Leading TKI in RCC, and one that we're pretty excited about in terms of growing relative to what it can do in the approved indications and then beyond, with a lot of work that we're doing right now clinically, and things will start in 2020. So we can get into the Q&A, but lots going on. Very exciting time for us, and certainly lots of momentum in terms of how we sit here today, both financially but also clinically.
Great. So we know the treatment of newly diagnosed RCC is kind of a pretty dynamic, competitive landscape right now. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing in the marketplace, and how some of these changes to frontline therapy is affecting or impacting the Carbomedics franchise?
Sure. So not surprisingly, as I think we all saw coming, going back a couple of years now, IO combinations are dominating the first-line setting in RCC.
Dominating. I like that word. I like the word dominating. I'm going to go back. I'm going to pause this a second. I'm going to pause this for a second because I'm listening to this. I'm going to go back. Hold on a second.
Expected and have talked about really for the last.
So I want to go back to this right here because when you listen to these conferences, you actually got to get to hear some of the doctors. Maybe you get to hear some of the, you hear the CEO and some of the head guys, and if they have a reputation of, and I've learned this too. I've learned things as I've gone. I've been always a pure trader and stuff. I've never been get down to the biotechs, and this year I'm really getting involved in those, and it's kind of exciting. So it's a learning experience for me too. There's so many aspects of trading. I'm a technical chart trader, a divergence trader and stuff, and that's all good and thing, but this adds a different dimension. It's a totally different dimension. It's the dimension. It's the Buckaroo Banzai, and what was his dimension? I forget. Anyway, you understand what I'm getting at here. There's a lot of other interesting clues. You could start to be a detective and start to find out some of these things. So I just want to go back because I start to listen to the CEOs, and if they get excited about their product, and you feel that through a conference like this, it must mean something. There's something there. Unless most people are not in tuned, which I always sometimes think. Maybe people don't look at it that way. Maybe I'm the only person that actually gets inspired by, if someone else gets inspired by their work, you know?
Right now clinically, and things will start in 2020. So we can get into the Q&A, but lots going on. Very exciting time for us, and certainly lots of momentum in terms of how we sit here today, both financially but also clinically.
Great. So we know the treatment of newly diagnosed RCC is kind of a pretty dynamic, competitive landscape right now. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing in the marketplace, and how some of these changes to frontline therapy is affecting or impacting the CABOMETYX franchise?
Sure. So not surprisingly, as I think we all saw coming, going back a couple of years now, IO combinations are dominating the first-line setting in RCC. Whether it be IO-IO or IO-TKI, there's, I think, pretty compelling data which we saw emerge in phase 1B, small, non-randomized phase 1B trials that then were confirmed in larger global pivotal trials. So as we expected and have talked about really for the last year, 18 months or so, the first-line setting is really now dominated by either IO-IO or IO-TKI combinations. And we've seen that market share grow pretty substantially. If you look at brand impact data, it's in the 75-80% range now. So no surprise. Obviously, we've got a lot going on there ourselves with the Checkmate 9ER study that BMS is running, the Cabo-Nivo combination. Both Cabo and Nivo individually, were leaders in the second-line space. Cabo with first-line data as well from Cabo-Sun. So we're excited about the horse we have in that race. Obviously we need to get data. BMS is guiding to have data in early 2020, which will, be a pretty important year for us and a pretty impactful year for us across the continuum of different trials that we're running and things that we can do. So, but again, the population is growing, the market is growing, and we've seen that from the IMS data over the last several quarters. There's more options to really improve patient survival. There's more options for patients when they progress. We think Cabo certainly has a dominant position now in second line, which has been there for a while, and that we think will continue to grow as these frontline IO combination patients progress. So, the question is really one of kinetics reaching steady states and how the ins and outs kind of look relative to patients entering first line.
All right, we're not going to get into this too much. I already went way too far into this.
Interesting in terms of the
all right, so I'm still listening to this thing, but I'm going to turn it off. I'm at like 20 minutes into it, and their main drug is Cabo, and I think they combine that second line treatment on certain things. But I could tell you by this presentation I'm watching, it's pretty good. It makes me very comfortable with the stock. For one of the stocks I'm not that familiar with, but I always want to be in these medical stocks that, of course, have the best drug and have the best possibility. And it's just let's just talk real here of getting bought out or getting a big, huge moneymaker. And and it's great when these companies also help people. I'm not, taking that lightly. There's some great companies out there that need to succeed because there's so many people out there that suffer from diseases and illnesses, and anything that could that help them is more important than anything. So this is really interesting. The EXELS, trying to figure out, or the EXEL, trying to figure out a target price on this is a little bit harder. But I will tell you, I did discuss what we were in on this, right? I discussed that. Actually, I'm going to post it up there on the other screen too. Let me switch over here. All right, I'm on the Biopharm Catalyst site. Biopharm Catalyst site. I put in the EXEL, comes up with a pretty decent chart. Now the chart, we'll look at the chart here on this one for now. Because I have it up. It's an interesting chart. It's moved up here. It's broken through its downward trend line. A nice move from pretty much 16 to 18. And again, we have this drug out here. The recent highs, if we go out here kind of pretty far. Let's see what we could see if I could actually Take a look at the recent highs. We were at about $32. So $32, not a bad chart. And again, after listening to the information, here's your drug line here. Wow, that's a much better thing. I was looking all over it, but you can see this Cabo drug is in a lot of different things, and they're being tested. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here, and that's a good thing. You know, they really believe in this drug. As you can see, all the trials, and there's always going to be things coming out in 2020. 2020 is going to be a big year for this company because of all the trials that they have going on. Another thing on the latest news here, you can see enters clinical collaboration with phase 3 combination trials for patients in advanced solid tumors. That was just news that came out last week. So we're getting entering a lot of phase 3. Here's another phase 3 of something else. There's a lot of things happening and brewing in this company. So I'm going to actually start looking at some of this. I'm going to grab one of these. Let's take a look here. Again, this kind of helps people. Just kind of repeating it. Positive announces positive results from the phase 3 of this kind of treated advanced melanoma. All right. So I want to add some of those into the clinical trials and give us a date, some other time frames, and maybe a date we could look for the next batch of news here. Let me do that research right now. Oh, one more thing I want to show you. This is the pipeline overview for EXEL. And again, these are the drugs here. There's actually 3. I want to go over those. Cabozantinib. I'm not going to pronounce these good at all. But then the Cabo, what was going to call? I'll let you read those. 3 and 4. So there's 4 drugs. I believe the big one is this one. They nickname it Cabo. So I'm going to click and save that, and I'm going to bring it over to clinical trials. I'm going to go scroll down, and I'm going to go right in here, the drug name, or wherever you want to place it. Put it right there, and then see what comes up. 152 studies found. I mean that's a lot. That is a lot. That's too many for me to go through right now. Wow. That's a lot. So, all kinds of cancers. Apparently they have something here that's good. I don't even know what half of these salva really. all right, let's bile duct cancer. This is serious stuff. Completed, has results. Wow. So, a lot of information out there. Another thing here, I'm just going to look back here at the EXEL on FinViz, another good site to use, and see where it's initiated. So where the buy triggers are and what the upgrades are and what the targets are. The recent initiation was November 13th. With a buy at Bank of America Merrill Lynch with a $22 target. Doesn't give us much on the upside. It really does. I'm looking around. That's why you hear me fade away from the microphone. I apologize. But I'm looking at different charts and stuff as I do this, just to see what the current price level is and some other programs on the other computers. I'm surrounded by a console here, and so it's just me sometimes leaning over and taking a look. But as you can see, the Goldman has it as a neutral $22 target. If some of these things start to hit, we could get anything good is going to get a slew of upgrades because no one's upgraded this in basically in 2017 is where everyone was interested with initiations and everything at 38, but now it's back down to $18. So, we need these. We need some updates. And if I'm sure if there's some good trials out there, we're going to get some upgrades and some updates. Another thing I like to look here is to see if there's any insider buying, and I'm just going to look fast with you, or selling. It looks like we do have some selling option sales. No, there's this option exercise. Sales after option all right, so a lot of options being exercised. Nothing, no buys or anything really. Well, you know what? Again, it's not not on the top of the list where the AUPH is or the VERU is, but it's it actually could be number 3. But I have some other interesting ones for you. We're going to jump right into that one, into those right now. And again, just to leave off on this, how far do we want to go on this? The target, maybe $30. So I already went over my positions, and let's just jump to the next one. Just to look at technical levels on EXEL here. 2541 was our latest high, and then above that, it looks like a nice double top here at 32. Again, just a lot of stuff in the pipeline there, so it does look really interesting. And there's also news down on here too, and you can see this is actually from the FD. What is this one? This is the biopharmcatalyst.com site. So you put in the symbol, and it gives you the news and everything on that. All right, so the next one on the list here. All right, so during my research after the AUPH and stuff, I went in deep. I looked at some stocks that had potential news. ACHV showed up. I put it on my watch list, and I had an offering recently that caused this. I think that I'm going to go through the news and stuff with you, but they just are. They have a smoking drug that kind of helps you quit smoking, I believe. And the only drug I'm seeing in the trials, I want to look a little deeper right now, but as you can see, they did an offering here, and I picked it up at 61 cents. It's actually down to the 50 cents. It's, but I didn't buy it too much. Just a small position here on that offering, trying to catch a little dip here. Let's go into the stock a little bit more here. This is a cheap one. I rarely get them under $1. I don't really like penny stocks so much. So this is kind of a few stocks that are expecting some news, and I figured we'll get into a couple of these and see how they play out. Let's dig a little deeper here. All right, so we see that it's about nicotine addiction and stuff, and this is a company that comes out with a product that kind of help that. Let's take a look at a bit. Positive phase 2B ORCA results reported. And then then it came out with the offering, and it popped it back down. This is kind of interesting. Let's take a look at it. I like how the drug is called ORCA. Anyway, it gives the data results that statistically significant improvement the quit rates for their drug dosing schedule phase 2B ORCA dose selection trial. So they had good results on that. As you can see here, a little chart down on the bottom here, it really does look pretty positive, and then there's a lot of information here. It breaks down the study. It's always good to go to the website first. Ongoing research of cytosinicline for addiction. ORCA. That's the pretty good. All right. So anyway, they have that one ORCA out, and we're going to take a little deeper look in it. Let's take a look. All right, let's go to the clinical study area. Let's put in ORCA, ORCA, and let's see what 20 studies were found for ORCA. That's not it, right. Let me do a better search here. We're going to use the pure drug name, which is a harder one to actually pronounce, but ORCA 1 dose selection of trial of cessation for smoking cessation. Outcome of 254 subjects. Again, positive results. Primary endpoint was a reduction of daily smoking. I mean, it's interesting. You can read it through it and go to the website. Let's see if I actually could go back down to the. I saved the. Let's go to start over and see if we can put that drug in and get a better result on that term. No studies found, and then the ORCA 1 didn't have any studies found either. That's kind of, let's see. -1. No studies found. I'm not seeing much there, but I'm going to read into this. Although it says statistically significant declines in the in smoking reduction in expired carbon monoxide, biochemical. I'm just reading into this right now. Let me bring the mic over a little bit closer. Efficacy results, the robust efficacy results in the simplified 3 times daily dosing arm exceeded our expectations. Everything was looking good on that. Conference call details. We could look about this. Tobacco use is currently leading cause of preventable death. This drug is plant-based alkaloid with high binding affinity to the nicotine receptor, believed to be aid in smoking. All right, so let's take a look. Orca 1, and I don't know. The first in achieves Orca ongoing research. All right, addiction program has aimed. I'm trying to find a key word. I mean, everything on this seems pretty positive on this. But I don't know why that drug, or at least that anything is coming up on the FDA trial here. Let me go a little deeper. All right, finally found it. It's called cessation, I guess, and that's the drug. I had to dig a little deeper here. Again, you can see it's deals with smoking. So they have quite a few trials underway. 12. Some of them were terminated. Some of them are recruiting. So one of them was completed. Trial of in adult smokers. Let's take a look at how that April. That actually had the stock moving higher. But let's take a look at. Let's go back here a second and see what's the next thing up here. Completed has results. That already has the results. Not yet recruiting. We want something that is no results yet. Not yet recruiting. Not yet recruiting. All right, so let's go back here. All right, the primary completion date 2021. Seeing what else is out there that might be sneaking up on us. I'll let you know. All right, hovering over this ACHV, again, you can see the phase 3 trials have been initiated for first quarter of 2020, first half of 2020. So that's the best we can do. It's a cheap stock. It's not high on my list. I want to move on. All right, next stock here is the PTI. And you can see this one, they're expecting some news on this. It came out with the news, and then it sold off drastically because they knew. I think they expected a deal, some type, fund, a raising of capital. But as you can see, also maybe they promote, actually, kind of twisted the results in favor of, and people see right through that, and actually the stock sold off pretty good. So we're traded here at $1.25. I took a big position on $1.31, looking for a bounce here. I started getting into this stock when I was looking at it out in Hawaii, and I took a small little position up here, and it pulled back. But the major position I took was right here as it got oversold. All right, as you can see, that news that caused that stock to drop down was on trial data. Now, it fell 35% on pre-market trading on Tuesday. Biopharmaceutical company shared mixed findings from a mid-stage study but they're going to go to phase 3. Still plans to launch a phase 3 trial next year. It's also conducting a personalized medicine study for patients with cystic fibrosis. The company held a call with investors to discuss findings. As you can see the news here, the headlines are one thing, mixed results, but on the briefing.com announces positive, quote, positive results from phase 2 study evaluating, the cystic fibrosis drug they have. So I'm going to read into this a little, highlight the big parts. All right, the other thing on the PTI here, we got 2 trials going on. The one that just completed, but there's another one that's coming out in January. Like I said, I picked up some shares here at 131. But the other secondary trial, I put in the name of it. It's called the PT1 801-1, and we're going to look at it over here on the screen. So as you can see here, the PT1 808 trial, and we go down here to the design of the thing. It's a primary completion date 2020 January. So we have this overhanging us, and I also did get a notification on the news that let me read you what I see here. Hold on. This was the news that came out on Friday here. Option traders expect huge moves in PTI stock, and based on the option volatility here. Because it's April 17th, $1 calls had some of the highest implied volatility of all equity options today, and again on Friday. And I was looking back on this, and that was, what was that for? That was for April, did it say? Maybe that's why I didn't see it. I was looking for it. It's not that exciting. But you know what? For something that this cheap, the $2 are going for 5 cents. They're going out to. I'm looking at the February. February calls here. There's nothing going on there. The April and the January. January 17s are 27 days away, and it's trading here at 227. So a month away. What is it trading at here? 220. Oh, I mean $1.27. The dollars are 30 cents. So you wonder if that will ramp up ahead of that news in January. I like the February, but there's no activity on the February. The April is a little bit more interesting. $2 ones are going for 25 cents. That's interesting to me. I like that. That's interesting. The April, 118 days away, trading at 10 to 20 cents. Or actually, the $2 ones are at 25 cents. 15, that's the ones I like. Trading at 20 cents right now. 20 cents. So that could be interesting, the $2 ones. All right. So that's what I'll probably end up getting, some more of those. I won't add more to the stock, but I will take a shot on those. April 17, $2 calls, trading at 20 cents. We get at 20 cents. I think it'll be a good trade. All right, well, again, looking to buy the April 2nd calls, 20 cents. I put those on the list here. Again, I'll send this out with the video, so you could, each one of these stocks will have their targets and stuff. That doesn't look like this one. Oh, that's the same one. All right, I see what's going on there. All right, so we're going to jump over to the next one. Now, this is kind of interesting. The PTI just going back and kind of ranking this. It's not bad. I like that it kind of really got hit pretty good. We take one more look at the chart one more time on this one. PTI really did get hit a lot. I mean, it came right back down. There's another trial out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing rebound back up pretty fast. We'll see what happens. Maybe even a 5 to 7 days. It's a cheap stock. Sometimes these things gap down and they're dead for a while. So you be careful not making this any dead money. But we'll watch it for some momentum. Maybe a 5 to 7 day reversal on this. That's about it. Let's go to the next one. The next one up is an interesting one. ARTL, Artelo Biosciences. Now I want to actually bring over the screen. I'll kind of go into detail on what this company is doing with its drug. Again, a lot of the research that I'm doing with you is increasing my knowledge of it. So sometimes it's the first time I'm seeing this. So let's go over here. I've been doing some decent research on this one. It looks very interesting. Very interesting. It also is related in the cannabis industry. So let me move over here. Now, I'm not a doctor again, so if I get some of this wrong, but I'm reading it right from the site here. They deal with the I'm gonna have to. the endocannabinoid system. Now, it has the word almost cannabis in it, but it's actually, if we read into here, is a widespread neuromodulatory system that plays an important part in human central nervous system development. Numerous peer reviews and scientific publications showing the importance of human physiology of the modulator in cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, and immune functions. All right. And they're putting this, they're saying this has a lot to do with weight loss, stomach disorders, pain, behavior, and stuff. So it goes down here how they use this, and it's introducing synthetic cannabinoids, naturally occurring cannabinoids, and endocannabinoid modulators. So cannabinoids, of course, is a byproduct, I guess, of cannabis. To give you an exact definition of that. Any group of closely related compounds which include cannabinoids or active constituents of cannabis. Now, that's kind of interesting because I'm reading more into this. The cannabinoid is one of the class of diverse chemical compounds that act as cannabinoid receptors, which is part of the endocannabinoid system found in cells that alter neurotransmitter release in the brain. So, they dig deep into this, and they have a couple trials using, again, cannabis in a certain form to deal with some issues, and we're going to look at those issues right now, and it looks interesting. All right, here's the three things in the pipeline here. We call it ART 27.13, ART 112. The big one is the ART 27.13, anorexia and cancer. Now, you've probably heard that how well cannabis does for pain, relief of nausea, appetite. People have a bad appetite, get your appetite going and stuff. A lot of interesting things. And again, you can see that they're dealing with that right now on this. Let's take a look at how far they're into these and when some of this news might be out. I started picking up a position on this on Friday morning, and we had a nice little pop on it. Now, reading the thing, high potency GCPR program here, R27113, clinical ready potent peripheral restricted dual synthetic agonist. Existing clinical data suggests meaningful potential for treatment of cancer-related anorexia and weight loss. In 5 phase 1 clinical studies, including over 200 subjects, demonstrated a statistically significant dose-proportional increase in body weight. In ongoing consultations with regulatory authorities, we plan to advance as a multi-module model supportive care therapy for cancer patients suffering from anorexia and weight loss. And again, we go on here. There's some other ones here down here. Cancer, inflammation, and pain. I do believe they're actually going to be dealing with some studies with colitis and Crohn's and any type of studies in stomach issues too. So it's pretty exciting. Here it is. That was the ART 12111. We're pursuing development in multiple indications, including PTSD, inflammatory bowel syndrome, colitis or Crohn's, as well as rare diseases. So, for anybody who've ever had stomach problems and tried cannabis, I'm sure you've gotten some relief from it. So it's an interesting study there. Let's see when I want to put a couple of these in the marker here and see when they're due. Copy. Now, believe it or not, I checked the clinical trial data. I didn't see anything mentioned of these drugs in the FDA clinicaltrial.gov, and maybe it's because I did find something on here. I'm going to listen to it. This is only a few minutes long. Let's listen to it together and see what it has to say here. This is a little update on this. As someone did a microcap little segment on this. It's pretty good. 2018. It's pretty up to date.
Los Angeles at the LD Microcap Show, and joining us right now is Greg Gorgas, the president and CEO of Artelo Biosciences. Greg, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Tell us a little bit about this company.
Well, we're a 18-month-old company, Artelo Biosciences, located in San Diego, California, and some investors came to me in early 2017 and said, we'd like to start a company in the cannabinoid space, sort of that cannabis pharma crossover space.
Right.
They think the area is hot. They've asked for someone like me to come along that has a sort of a tried and true blue ribbon background in drug development and commercialization, and start a company in this space.
So you have a few of those drugs in the pipeline. Why don't we start off with the cannabinoids, because that's obviously what people are talking about right now. So tell us what you have and what stages they're at.
So in the cannabinoid space specifically, there's three ways to modulate the endocannabinoid system that you have, that I have.
Right.
And that's with naturally occurring cannabinoids that can be extracted from the plant or made synthetically, from synthetic cannabinoids, or modulating what that endocannabinoid system is there for in the first place, and that's your own endocannabinoids. And Artelo is differentiated in that we have a program in all three areas. Specifically from the naturally occurring cannabinoids, we have a proprietary CBD, or cannabidiol. Steve, you've probably heard of CBD. You'd have to be half asleep to not have heard about CBD.
Yeah.
But the question of having it proprietary has eluded most companies. And in fact, that's really the special sauce for us. Because if something is in the public domain, it's hard to develop a drug company or a product around that.
Right.
And the FDA just recently approved a program or a product that has pure CBD, that is a pure CBD product, and that's Epidiolex from GW Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
But they went down a route of orphan drug protection. That wasn't attractive to us. Other folks with CBD say it's kind of the space shuttle approach. I don't own what the cargo is, but I own this exquisite delivery system.
Right.
But then every chewing gum, ointment, cream, you name it, has been, and I think that's going to eventually be a commodity. Okay. So really what we did is we took advantage of, so to speak, an inherent flaw in CBD, in that it's polymorphic in nature.
Right.
And that polymorphism just means that something in nature can exist in multiple forms at the same time. Steve, you learned in grammar school that without even knowing what polymorphism was, because water, or H2O, can exist as a solid, a liquid, or a gas.
Right.
And while that's not a perfect analogy, you learn that something in nature can be the same substance and yet have different forms.
So where does this take us to as far as using this now for the consumer? What is it that you're developing?
Well, what we did is we created a co-crystal of CBD, and that's putting a straitjacket on CBD so that it stays in one crystalline form.
Okay.
When it's like a delivery system, and then when it goes into the body, this disassociates, and you're left with pure CBD. But outside the body, it's new and different. And this may, in fact, enhance its absorption characteristics. And so what we have in the bottle is unique, and we get a patent on that, 20-year patent protection. What we deliver in the body is the CBD that everybody is known to come and love. Okay. So our intention is to file an IND next year, and go into a phase 1, phase 2 study, drug development through the regulatory pathway.
Now we hear the term cancer and cancer being treated. Is that something that this is going to aid in as well?
Well, not specifically the cannabidiol. So that's a powerful anti-inflammatory. So we're looking at anti-inflammatory diseases. But we have two other assets that are destined in the cancer space. Okay. Should I tell you about them?
Yeah.
Well, the first one we got as a drug that had been developed to date at AstraZeneca, a large global pharmaceutical company. And that drug is exciting for us because it showed in its phase 1 studies profound impact on weight gain or appetite stimulation. In fact, every patient receiving the drug gained weight. Those that got placebo did not, with a high separation between the two. And so we believe that that's a tremendous opportunity. It's not hard for people to think that cannabis gives you the munchies.
Right?
But the profile of the drugs in the marketplace, or cannabis, is that it has some unwanted side effects. Ours stays out of the brain and works in the periphery. So it gives you the medicinal benefit below the neck and none of the psychoactivity above the neck.
Right, okay.
So we've slated that to go into a phase 2 study in anorexia associated with cancer. About 60% of people suffering from late-stage cancer treatment have anorexia that contributes to their demise. We believe it's important, not necessarily, although we'd love to see it, restore people so that they can live longer, but certainly live a better quality of life for the time they have remaining.
So give us an idea about 2019. What's your sort of vision for this company and growing it in 2019?
Well, for 2019, we expect a lot of good things to happen for our compounds. First of all, that first program that I mentioned to you, the proprietary CBD program, we expect to file an IND and go into clinical development. We also expect to be issued our patent on 20 years protection. So that's some big milestones for 2019. For the anorexia drug, we expect to start the phase 2 study, and that's going to be very exciting for this company as well. Our third asset will be in IND enabling studies, so we'll have to wait till the next year before that can go into the clinic.
Right.
But our third program as a direct anti-cancer agent is also a very compelling program within our portfolio.
Very fascinating stuff. Well, great to meet you, and good luck in 2019. Sounds
Thank
like
you
there's some
very
really
much,
interesting
Steve.
things going
Pleasure
on.
to meet you.
All right, well, there you have it.
Greg Gorgas, the President and CEO of Artelo Biosciences.
Very nice. So, you know what? Interesting. I'm not seeing, like I said, I'm not seeing the clinical trials listed on the clinicaltrial.gov site, which is a little concerning. But you know what? We go back to the chart here and the drug and what it sounds like. It does seem like a lower risk setup here. Consider we're out of 2019. I don't know how. I have to look a little bit deeper into which one of those endpoints were met for 2019. It was asking what they were trying to, the patents and stuff like that. I have to look into that. I don't really know. The chart overall, though, looks kind of interesting here. Now, I went back here. They did an offering, and I guess they closed the offering. The stock popped, and it kind of came all the way, almost all the way back, but started to base out here. We started to get a little volume coming into. Volume is starting to play out. Popped here, consolidated, popped again. I just think this one is pretty good for $2 and change here. So let's put our targets on it and let you know what more I know about this one. Well, I got to tell you, I went through so many different keywords and everything. Find a lot of presentations on this, but I'm not seeing anything in the clinical trials site talking about the site one. But I do have a pipeline. I do have a web page. I do have a chart. I have everything else. I am in this one, but I would love to have a little bit more of a sense of when these trials are going to be due. So if anybody has that information on that, let me know. Send me a note on that, and I'd like to add it to this stuff. But right now, this is what I have on that. And again, it's not a big one, but it's something that interests me. I thought it was an interesting find, especially with the stock price starting to curl back up. It's definitely something that I feel like is at this $2.40 a low risk, definitely a low risk setup here. And I might even go in a little bit more. Let's see how that volume picks up, and if we can get that final piece of the puzzle when these trials are due. All right, we'll touch base on that again. Let's move on to the next one. And one last thing here. For what I could read here, it looks like the float is only 2.37 million shares. 2.37 million shares. That's a very slow float. Shares outstanding 3.5. Oh, that's very interesting. You can see how fast this thing moves when it does move. It popped up here and then it came all the way back down. Definitely interesting. Definitely keep it on your watch list. Watch it. I think I have to get more into this, just seeing that the float is so low on this. All right, next stock, ESPR, Esperion Therapeutics. They deal with lipid management. Lipid management's cholesterol and triglycerides. Managing that, and that's very important. So let's go take a look at this. This is another one that I think has some data due. I got into this one and I added to it on Friday, so we'll discuss this a bit. This is one of the better quality names out there that has a decent chart. Take a look at the weekly chart right now. You see the weekly when it first came public. It did run up here in 2015 all the way up to 100 and change, and it came all the way back down to $8 and change, and it ran all the way back up to 80, and now back down to 50. It looks pretty good. If you take a look at the daily chart here, it's actually starting to run. And we like things that start to run into some kind of data release and some kind of binary event. So let's go over that right now. Here's the website here. Lipid management for everybody. Singly focused on getting every patient on LDC-C goal, I guess good cholesterol and stuff like that. The pipeline is right here. It's pretty easy to read. There's phase 3 clinical development happening and has extensive development clinical trial in lipid management. So here we are, cholesterol lowering. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm going to get phase 3 clinical trials, LDC reduction, cardiovascular outcome trials in progress. So we have some trials here. We're going to go a little further on this just to get a better read on when these trials are due. This is the phase 2 apparently was successful. Announces positive top-line results from phase 2 study. That's good. Announces positive top-line results from phase 2 study. So let's look a little deeper into this one. All right, here I'm reading into this, and it was an interesting article. Esperion promising drugs under review funds a concern. We'll see what it says here. Now, there's no marketed drugs in the company's portfolio. Meanwhile, it filed a regulatory application for pipeline candidates. It's doing this bempedoic acid and monotherapy in combination with Merck's drug application has been accepted and under review in the United States and Europe. The company is looking to get oral therapies approved for treatment of elevated LDL-C, bad cholesterol in patients. A decision from the FDA on the monotherapy regimen is expected by February 21st, 2020, while a decision on the combination therapy should come by February 26th, 2020. FDA has informed the company that it will not hold an advisory committee meeting for discussing the new drug applications, which is likely to accelerate the review process. Applications were filed based on encouraging data. Regulatory applications were filed based on encouraging data from multiple pivotal studies. Data from 4 phase 3 studies evaluating presented previously demonstrated that treatment with the therapy led to an additional 18% reduction in LDC, over 31% reduction in statin-treated patients on tolerated statins. All right. 35 compared to 24%. Largest indicated purpose of these estimated 40 million patients in the United States are using statins, which is intolerable in 5 to 20% cases. Companies signed a deal with. All right. Has 244 million as of some sufficient to fund operations till operating cash flow remains positive. However, timely availability of funds is necessary for the successful commercialization of the company's drug following the potential approval in June. Enters a revenue interest purchase agreement of $200 million with an investor group and extends its resource. However, these funds may prove inadequate for a successful launch in the drugs. All right, well, story continues. Well, it looks positive. We have our dates. We have our dates here. I want to write those down and put those on this little sheet I have, my cheat sheet here. So that's going to be February 21st and February 26th, 2020. So right after the new year. Here's something that, again, a cautious view here. Moreover, candidates will face significant competition from PCSK9 inhibitors, Santa Fe and Regeneron's drug, and Amgen, already marketed for similar indications. The medicine company inhibitor is under review in the United States with the decision expected by year end. Also came in a twice-a-year dosage benefit. Moreover, Novartis has offered to acquire the medicines company, which put out that drug. So there is that kind of a negative little look on that. Everything else looks good, but always remember, there's always something out there that could overturn the apple cart. In my search for news, I looked at the insiders on ESPR, And there is quite a bit of buyers out there from all the way back to November, August, most of the year, a couple sells, but mostly all buys, and up to November, nothing in December, and up to about $36, $37. There's some before that in the $40 range. But apparently the president and CEO here stepping up and getting a good price at these 36 and change. And that was in right before I took off. So that was a good, man, that was good. Damn, we're a little late on this one. I'm looking back where he got in at under $40 on that gap down. That was a key, and that thing's been moving up ever since. So I'd like to get a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to risk any more on this, but it does have an interesting chart to it. It has the insider buy-in. It has a drug that's going to be due out in February. Two trials to be due out in February, or at least two news events. There is a little negative discussion on the competitors, and if they come out with something that's could be a roadblock there. So I want to keep it a little safer on this one, but it does look like one of the value and one of the better setups here. The one last thing here to talk about is, remember we said earlier when we looked at this stock, they accepted a new drug application, and in a rare event, it said here, let's see, it was unable to establish. All right, let me see what I'm reading here. I think in a rare move, the FDA did not convene an advisory panel before deciding upon approval in 2020. So again, even though that's supposed to come out in 2020, it might be pushed ahead because that's supposed to take some time, and they're going to bypass that so they could actually get this thing kind of fast tracked. All right. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, I want to start wrapping this up. This is long enough. But there was a couple other stocks I wanted to go over. ALRN here. They recently had a drug get FDA approval, Lupeteracept, and I believe they have a deal with Bristol Myers, which are going to bring some royalties in 2020. This is set up to be a pretty good stock right now. I was just looking at the weekly chart here, and it's really just a potential big mover. Overall, it's been around since 2013, but it's been in this kind of a sideways trading range. It almost looks like it's ready to break out, and the drugs are all, starting to get approved now. And they have two other drugs that are coming down the pipe for, I believe, February to April 2020. And then they just had it, or actually I was just reading their presentation that they did at the ASH conference. That was just this past week, and again, this is definitely a quality name. Here's the ASH conference. I was just reading this. It goes into a couple of things. Let's go to their drug here. Believe now approved. I think that is the treatment of anemia. And then we have an April 4th, something coming out for another phase 3 drug. And that's due on April 4th. And there were some other ones, of course, that are of interest. And that's 2020, expected in 2020. This is year end 2020, fully enrolled, enrollment ongoing, and I think that's a lot right there, and they go into each one of these. So it's always good, a lot of information here. I'm going to read more into that. But the stock overall looks really, really nice here. But I'm going to do some more research on that. I might actually get a position in this somehow, and just kind of, it does look like a stable stock. ALRN. The other one I had on the list here, I was talking about the beginning of the they say KZIA, and I haven't looked at that one yet, so this is the first time I'm looking at that with you. KZIA. That's interesting. Esperion Therapeutics got a nice pop and then pulled back. I don't know. I have to look into it a little bit more, but we're going to leave it at that. I wanted to get this out. And again, a little bit different on the watch list for this week. There's a lot of stocks that will probably be, it's a Christmas week coming up. The volume is going to be down. We have the Santa Claus rally starting December 26th, should bring us into the new year, and things are looking really strong. Just to kind of update you on some stocks. We had a great Friday. I was watching this market just climb, and I'm still in this waste management, looking fine, starting to break out. Our target's 1350. It's almost at our target. There's other stocks out there that look just as good, and it's just hard to believe. I just don't want to short this market yet. I know people are saying we got to short it, but I'm just not feeling. I would rather stay away and let the market prove itself to the downside, get hurt, do something. I'd rather take a fast sucker punch by the market than try to call a top here. There was another one I wanted to just kind of focus on. Well, let's go back and it's like I said, it's not a typical list. It's more of the drug stocks. I put these in order, and I said, well, I'm not going to be in order, but I'm going to put in the order in the beginning. I would continue to say that the order is pretty set up here, other than moving the XLRN up here at the top of near the top of the list. It looks like a great company. AUPH is definitely the number one candidate here. I would actually put probably EXEL as number 2, then VERU number 3. ACHV, I didn't really go over it. The PTI is interesting. The ARTL is another cannabinoid, and I like this one a lot. I need more information on it. Number 1, AUPH. Number 2, EXEL. Number 3, VERU. Number 4, ESPR. All right. And number 5, XLRN. I didn't go over the LIXD. There's not much to go over. I'm in that one since 18 cents. It's kind of there's no real. They actually have something on the FDA, clinical trials, and it's not due until next year. So I'm just holding on to that. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's no volume or anything like that. And that's it. I hope you guys had enjoyed this and maybe got some information out of it. I'm all over the place sometimes. This was a long day, and I want to just send this out to you and wish you guys a happy holiday. And I'll see you Monday. I'm going to be here Monday, and hopefully we get some nice moves in these. All right? Have a great one. I'll see you Monday.